Taking care of someone else's parent must have been tough. You don't have any right to inheritances, though.
Well, that might be true. But that's... My name is Amy, and I'm 42 years old this year. Actually, I just lost my husband's mother, whom I had been caring for over the past 14 years. She had dementia. So, I quit my job when her symptoms started and moved in to take care of her. I've been providing care for her for 14 years since I was 28. And after seeing her pass away, I feel a bit relieved. To be honest, caregiving at home was really tough. I thought of hiring a caregiver, but my husband, Jason, was against it.
Having someone in the house is not acceptable. I'm sure Mom wouldn't like it.
So, we couldn't rely on a caregiver. Also, when my mother-in-law's dementia was in its early stages, she mentioned,
I don't want to be a burden. So, could you consider putting me in a nursing facility? There should be money left by my husband, right?
But Jason was against that too.
It feels like abandoning Mom, and I don't like it. I want to take care of Mom until the end.
But he ended up not caring for her at all. He even refused to do various procedures.
It's too difficult to understand those things for me, so I'll leave it to you. Honestly, caregiving is messy, so I don't want to do it. Oh, no, I mean, I don't want to see my parents deteriorate. Amy, you can understand, right?
Jason had been avoiding caregiving. It seemed he disliked thinking about various matters and expending effort. Somehow, I understood his feelings. So, I didn't blame Jason. And, I was indebted to my mother-in-law. She was a kind person, completely unrelated to the typical mother-in-law issues. That's why I could endure caregiving no matter how challenging it was. However, after my mother-in-law passed away, something unexpected happened. Suddenly, after the funeral, Jason brought up the topic of divorce.
Well, things have settled down, so maybe we should get a divorce.
Huh? Why? Did I do something wrong?
No, it's not about that. I've actually been planning this from the start of our marriage.
I've heard that many people bring up divorce as soon as the caregiving for their spouse's parents ends, and sometimes those who've been playing around outside during the caregiving period. I remembered that and confronted Jason. Did you happen to meet someone else?
No, it's not like that. I've been working diligently every day, and you know that, right?
Indeed, Jason just commuted between home and work every day. He rarely went out for drinks, and his job didn't involve any business trips. Also, he spent weekends with me. So, he wouldn't have had time to meet someone else. Then why? If there's no one else, why divorce?
You.
Huh? Jason muttered something quietly. When I asked him to repeat it because I couldn't hear, he said it loudly.
Truth is, I never liked you. The love faded away right after we got married.
That's... The revelation was shocking. We thought we were a happy couple, so why would he say something like that? It was completely unexpected.
Because Amy, you had a better salary than me. I felt like you were being cheeky about it. Plus, you handled the housework well, never complained, and got along great with my mom. I didn't feel needed, and it hurt my pride as a man.
Just because of that? Listening to Jason's argument, I couldn't help but feel dumbfounded. It felt like everything I had worked hard for was being invalidated. When we got married, Jason's industry was struggling due to external factors. Despite that, Jason worked hard to earn for us. Seeing his effort, I decided to do the same. I focused on my career to support her with him, even got promoted. I knew Jason struggled with housework, so I did my best to minimize the burden on him. I never complained even when he neglected his share of chores. I supported Jason because I loved him.
Actually, I've planned to divorce you when you got promoted before me. I thought you were too arrogant for a woman.
But Jason, that's not fair. Companies have different promotion rates, and it's also a matter of internal policies, right?
I can't stand your condescending attitude like this.
It seemed that what I thought was for Jason's benefit had backfired. Jason continued in his frustrated tone.
But I didn't leave you. Do you know why? Do you know why I stayed married to you?
I don't know. Why?
Because around that time, my parents' health was getting worse. In fact, My dad collapsed right after we got married. At that time, my mom was taking care of him, but I thought she might be the next one to fall ill. I wanted you to take care of her.
Why would you think that, even though they're your parents?
Because caregiving is messy, isn't it? I absolutely didn't want to do anything like that. I hated sacrificing work for caregiving.
With that said, Jason wore a triumphant expression. There was no trace of affection left for me in his face.
So, you're just a caregiver, that's it. And now that both my parents are gone, you're just disposable, getting divorced.
I can't believe you'd say something like that.
I thought if I relied on you for caregiving, you wouldn't refuse. Also, I thought you'd quit your job. Then you'd be unemployed. Since I would make more money, my pride would be intact.
So, you made me quit my job for that? Then why did you reject hiring a caregiver or considering a facility?
That was just to spite you. It was weird for me to hire a caregiver with my money so you could have an easy time. If my mom went into a care facility, you might end up getting a job again. And if, by some chance, you started earning more than me, I'd be in trouble. That's why I refused everything.
After saying this, Jason smirked satisfactorily. Then he handed me a divorce paper.
I have no intention of continuing married life with someone I'm done with. Get out of the house quickly. And of course, my mother's inheritance is mine. It's my personal property, so don't expect any share.
I didn't start caregiving with that intention from the beginning. I did it because I owed your mother.
Yeah, spare me the sob story. Honestly, you're a weird one too. Ruining your career by taking care of someone else's parent.
With that, Jason laughed heartily, seeming to thoroughly enjoy himself. As I listened to his laughter, I felt incredibly irritated. Why did it have to come to this? I lived for Jason, even went as far as cohabiting and resigning from work for him, and all I wanted was only to be kind to him. Was Jason just laughing off all my efforts? But just as I felt my anger boiling over, a memory from when I first started caregiving, when my mother-in-law was still lucid, flashed into my mind. So, I smiled and shared it with Jason. What are you talking about? Inheritance? Someone else's parents?
Huh? What's up with you? What do you mean by that reaction?
Well, you're saying weird things.
What do you mean? No matter how much you've cared for her, your mother isn't my parent, right?
I'm not saying that. Because, you see, you don't have parents.
Huh?
Jason looked stunned by my words. But he must have thought it weak to show vulnerability because he quickly reverted to his usual smug smile.
It is true that my parents are gone, so I don't have any. But I'll inherit a huge estate. You won't get any inheritance, though.
Indeed, I heard that my father-in-law was wealthy. My mother-in-law was also frugal and didn't indulge in extravagance. Her estate would likely be substantial. However, that's irrelevant to Jason. Inheritance? What are you talking about? You're not even their biological child. You wouldn't get anything.
Then that must be about you, right? You've wasted your career for someone else's parents.
Well, that might be true. If I had known your true character, I would have divorced you. But you're just as curious.
What do you mean? What are you trying to say, Amy?
You're curious, too, for desperately paying for someone else's care.
What do you mean?
When I had just started caregiving, my mother-in-law had moments of clarity despite her dementia. So I learned a secret that Jason didn't know. I've heard something from my mother-in-law. You aren't actually their biological child. When you were still a baby, your father's friend and his wife got into an accident, and your father took you in because he thought it was pitiful to send you to a facility.
That's a lie. There's no way. I don't have any memory of that.
So, it's a story from when you were a baby. It's understandable if you don't remember, right?
But, even so, maybe they were considering adoption? Then I should have the right to inherit the estate. You, who did the caregiving, don't have that right.
They didn't go through with adoption.
What?
My father-in-law and mother-in-law were planning to tell Jason everything once he became an adult. They even considered adoption if Jason wished for it. But they decided against it, and they didn't even mention the lack of biological connection. Why not? When I asked, my mother-in-law answered with a sad smile.
Since Jason was a high school student or so, he started making comments clearly aiming for our inheritance. How much is this house worth? How much is the insurance payout? How much could I inherit now?
Oh, no.
At first, we thought he was just at an age when he was curious about many things. But we sensed something abnormal, so my husband and I decided not to talk about it. If we had gone through with adoption, we didn't know what might happen. So, we decided to stop that too.
I'll probably never forget the sad expression on my mother-in-law's face at that time. The child she raised from a young age treated her like a cash cow. I wonder how tough it must have been for my father-in-law and mother-in-law.
I don't believe that. Yeah, it's probably just another one of your made-up stories, isn't it? Why would you know something like that when even I didn't? Why does a stranger like you know such important things?
Because I noticed it when I saw the family register.
Why were you looking at something like that? Were you after the inheritance?
No, that's not it. Don't you need the family register when submitting the marriage certificate? That's when I realized there was no blood relation between you and your mother-in-law. At first, I didn't think much of it, but then I remembered and asked her about it.
No way.
I'm surprised that you didn't know about it. Did you really not know? Didn't you confirm the family register when we submitted the marriage papers? Did your mother-in-law perhaps prepare it for you?
Well, I was busy with work.
Besides the marriage papers, there have been other occasions to see the family register, right? And you still didn't know? How disinterested have you been in various things all this time? Jason had always pushed various documents onto me. He even made me fill out the tax-related documents for his company. That's probably why he didn't know about the family register. It was his carefree nature that led to this. He reaped what he sowed. Yet, for some reason, Jason was getting defensive.
How can you keep such an important thing secret for almost 15 years? That's not fair.
I don't get it. Not knowing about such an important thing is even more unbelievable. It's your own fault for being so careless all this time.
But...
So, you don't have any right to inherit your mother's estate from the beginning. By the way, your mother-in-law has left a will regarding the inheritance. She's donating the entire amount to facilities for children without parents.
What? Why such a face for kids we don't even know?
Well, she must have really disliked inheriting you. By the way, I'm supposed to get a little money. She arranged for me to receive a portion for caregiving. As I said that, Jason's expression changed. He looked desperate, as if clinging to me for support.
Then, can you share that as marital property? Come on, okay?
What?
We're married, so I have rights to at least half, right? Make sure to split it properly when we divorce.
I'm in favor of divorce after seeing your true colors. But we can't divide the inheritance.
Why not? You're being selfish.
Because, didn't you just say it yourself? That it's my personal property, so don't expect any sharing. I'll just return those exact words to you. It's my personal property, so please don't expect any sharing. When I said that, Jason turned pale and sat down. But it seems he can't give up on the money. He said unbelievable things.
Then let's call off the divorce. We can live peacefully with my mother's inheritance. Since we won't have to care for her anymore, shouldn't we enjoy our time together?
Since he'd said some cruel things, I couldn't believe Jason's nerve in retracting the divorce. Of course, I had no intention of agreeing to such a proposal. Once Jason had signed and stamped the divorce papers, I made sure to fill in my section securely so he couldn't take it back. Despite some disagreement, our divorce went through. We split our savings right down the middle. Jason still seems to be living alone in his parents' house.
I don't need to pay rent, and I have a career as an employee. So I can live better than you, who's unemployed.
When we were divorcing, Jason said something like that. But in reality, he's struggling now. Apparently, Jason realized that his mother-in-law would soon be gone and went on a spending spree. He bought luxury brands he'd never bought before and even frequented upscale stores. Then he's accumulated debt he can't repay. The decision of my parents-in-law, who didn't disclose the absence of blood ties and refrained from adopting him, was probably right, considering how Jason wasted money expecting an inheritance when his parents were unwell. In the end, Jason is burdened with debts that he can't repay with his monthly salary alone. He even called me asking for financial assistance, but I have firmly refused all requests. Planning to move in the near future. I won't have to worry about Jason coming to the house once everything is settled. Also, I'll firmly reject any attempts at contact after moving. Currently, I've found a part-time job and enjoy working there. While living with my mother-in-law had its positives, interacting with people outside is enjoyable. Thanks to my mother-in-law's inheritance, I'm not struggling financially for now. Furthermore, I am supposed to be promoted to a full-time employee. Of course, I won't let that opportunity slip away and will continue to embrace challenges in the future.